Being back here feels different than I expected. There's this sense of unease, as if I no longer know what waits behind the next door, even though I spent most of my life within these walls. It must be the memories that have haunted me ever since I left. Time to face them, once and for all. If I can make it through the back door, into the gardens, then everything will finally make sense. Another one here. There was a kindness in my mother's eyes, no matter the weather. She could sit by the window on the rainiest day and still smile softly at the sky as she knew God's very secret. It was always a mystery to me how she had married a man so different from her. My father never smiled. His face was always serious, his eyes judging every step you took, as if we were in the military. Everything had to be in order. And yet, despite his coldness, I wanted to be just like him, collected and certain of the future. I don't remember much from the funeral, although sadness held my chest in a tight grip. I didn't shed a tear that day. I felt like a ghost watching from afar as they lowered my father's casket into the grave and threw grains of dirt onto it. Knowing him, he probably would have approved. He always said that tears were redundant. So why does it still feel wrong? My mother's sadness was endless and overwhelming, like a sea in the storm. She barely spoke after the funeral, not to me, not to anyone. I could only watch how their spirits slipped away until there was nothing left, until she drowned in her own sorrow, and I didn't do anything to stop it. I'm sorry I wasn't able to hug you that day when your life fell apart, Mother. I was just as lost as you, and when the plague took you as well, I didn't even have the time to tell her how much I loved you. Goodbye, Mother. I've got all the numbers. Time to open the chest. First time I saw my wife, we were already betrothed to each other. Back then, I couldn't see past my own discontent. I didn't care what kind of person she was. My pain was the only thing that mattered to me. She always carried sadness in her eyes, though I only noticed it after she left. She truly tried to make the best of the situation, always responding kindly despite my cold attitude. She tried to get close to me to understand the reason for my indifference. I remember that miserable walk in the park when we wandered in a complete silence, unable to speak to each other. She stopped trying after that. I always knew she was a God fearing woman. She prayed each night before sleep in a long silence, as if she were afraid to say the true meaning of her prayers out loud. Back then, I found it rather pathetic. Now I wish I had someone to pray to as well. I wish I had asked her to pray for my soul. I used to blame her for leaving me alone in my grief. I was so focused on my own needs that I never took the time to consider hers. I only came to appreciate her presence when she was truly gone. The emptiness that followed consumed the entire house, like an open field with nothingness stretching for miles. I used to blame her for leaving me alone in my grief. I was so focused on my own needs that I never took the time to consider hers. I only came to appreciate her presence when she was truly gone. The emptiness that followed consumed the entire house, like an open field with nothingness stretching for miles. I've got all the numbers. Time to open the chest. Nature was my favorite subject to study and draw. I remember how fascinated I was by the various shapes of leaves. As a child, I could sit for hours, sketching each and every leaf I could find, filling sheets of paper faster than my mother could acquire more. I miss the feeling of constant wonder. When I reached adolescence, my father told me that it was time to give up art and learn how to be a real man. I felt devastated, but there was no room for disobedience. So I stopped drawing, threw away my paper and supplies, and instead filled my shelves with books and maps. It never felt right. Part of my soul always mourned that choice. When I took over my father's business, I tried my best to keep it in the same state he had left it. It was no surprise to anyone when trouble started to arise, one after another. I wasn't like my father, constantly distracted, lacking his confidence and skill. Unpaid bills, failed investments. After a while, I was forced to sell the company. I wish I had done it sooner. There was no coming back for me. I was stuck in a dull occupation with no room for creativity or appreciation of nature's wonders. Only accounting, bills, money, 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 like a dog on a leash. I dreamed of running away only to find myself dragged back into the grey reality where I would spend my final days buried in papers. Finally, some quiet. Enjoy the silence.